Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 12th episode of CelebWorx Live, where we had to explain to the Flintstones that Dino wasn't our favorite purple dinosaur. I'm Chris Arsaga.
I'm Nery Lemus. Thanks for joining us.
Also to the general public, before we bring on our special guest, if you have any questions for them or for us, please post them on the official stream, and we'll answer them if we can.
I'm excited to bring on this talented friend to the program. A leading character voice actor, Bob West, recorded everything from national television voiceovers to highly technical educational narrations. In 1987, Bob was cast as the voice of Jasper and Pasqually, two of the animatronic characters at Chuck E. Cheese parlors. He went on to speak and sing as those two crazy bots for 10 years. In early 1988, one of Bob's many auditions would lead him to the casting as the voice of Barney the Dinosaur. The PBS series Barney and Friends went on to top the early childhood ratings for many years, even besting the venerable Sesame Street. Since Barney began, more than 90 million videos have sold around the world. The PBS series ran for 24 years in the US and was seen along with the localized versions in 100 countries and more than 280 territories, with some countries still airing the program. In 2018, Bob and Barney celebrated the 30th anniversary of the release of those first home videos, and a new wave of nostalgia for the beloved character is now taking place. Barney fans are now having kids of their own and passing down the Barney tradition. On a personal note, I was raised on Barney the Dinosaur. I had the home movies, the plush dolls, and I only dreamed to go on a great adventure to find my own magical rainbow egg. I'm lucky to have traveled the country with Bob last year, and we are looking forward to when he can get back on the road to meet many of you for many more great adventures. He's what we call a dinosaur sensation. Please welcome the only Barney the Dinosaur in our eyes, Bob West, to today's program.
Hey guys, how are you? Good to see you.
Bob!
I miss your faces.
Absolutely. We miss you, Bob. How are you? How are you handling the quarantine?
I'm good. I'm like, I'm kind of a hermit anyway, so I'm used to this. You can call me Herman if you want to. But yeah, I mean, I've been kind of in isolation now for like 3 months. So yeah, trying to stay healthy, trying to keep other people healthy just in case I have it. Haven't gotten tested yet. I'm planning to do that soon. So how you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're just
hanging in there.
Good.
Missing our adventures.
Trying to keep sane. You know, that's one of the things. I'm going to start us off on sort of your career. But before we get to your career, you mean a lot to children everywhere. I think we've talked about this. Can we talk a little bit about your upbringing? I mean, you were born in Pennsylvania and you eventually ended up in Texas. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. My childhood in Pennsylvania was awesome. I had 2 great parents and a great brother, big brother. We lived in Finleyville, PA, little town of like 500 people. So it was kind of in the western Pennsylvania hills, kind of the Appalachian sort of hills, lots of green, lots of farmland. And there were like, we would go and sneak into somebody's barn and play in the barn and rearrange the hay bales and, and basically, try to get ourselves in trouble. But yeah, it was great. And then when I was 13, we moved to Texas, and because my dad changed jobs with U.S. Steel at the time, and grew up there and went to high school there and college there, went to Trinity University in San Antonio, and started doing voiceover after that. So
when you
fun childhood.
When you were growing up, did you have any kind of fandom, like something that like a cartoon that you watched or anything you collected or anything like that?
Cartoons. Well, I grew up in the age of the just past pretty much the golden age of cartoons. So, I mean, Bugs Bunny and everything from Crazy Cat and Ignatz to Donald Duck and Porky Pig and to all of those, and to the really old stuff where you would see after this grocery store closes up and everybody's gone, all the can labels start to come to life and talk to each other and dance and sing, merry melodies, those kinds of things. But I mean, those were great. But in terms of fandom, I was a fan of James Bond.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
007.
Yes.
Who's your favorite James Bond?
I gotta say, for a long time it was Sean Connery, but our current Bond is pretty great. Daniel Craig is, his first was just amazing.
I'm a big fan of Casino Royale.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorites.
From when I talk to people, usually their favorite Bond is whoever they grew up with. So it makes sense that yours is Sean Connery, because mine's Pierce Brosnan. I mean, growing up, Pierce Brosnan was like the cool guy for us,
I'd say mine was Roger Moore, but I liked View to a Kill was one of my favorites, and I think it was probably more because of Duran Duran doing the theme song. But
yeah. Of course, when I think of Pierce Brosnan, I think of what was it? His the TV show, the TV series. It was Remington Steele. Yeah, I always think of that.
Steel.
So that was a little cheesy, and I thought, so he was, I don't know. But yeah, it's like whatever you grew up with is pretty much the thing.
I think I have the foolproof case for A View to a Kill.
Oh,
Christopher Walken is the bad guy. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I had the spy briefcase. With the with the little gun in it, and and it was a little plastic briefcase. And then I had a model Aston Martin with the back, the bulletproof shield that popped up, and the little and the guns that come out of the back and everything. It was fun. Yeah, we had some fun. Thunderball was a big thing.
Yeah, Thunderball, good movie.
You were saying that you got your first gig in Texas. Is that where you started? In the business. Yeah.
Well, when I was in college, I had a friend who was one of the engineers at the audio set of the studio there. There's like a really nice recording studio, and he brought me in and we did a demo, and it was just like 2.5 minutes of totally self-indulgent, insane, stupid, like 30 seconds of splatter noises all lined up next to each other. It was just crazy. But I took it out and I started shopping it around, and I got it to ad agencies, and I started actually getting work. So
what was your first gig as a professional actor then?
That's a good question. It was some radio commercial, I'm sure. There were so many, so many little local and regional commercials for everything from a car dealership to a bank to restaurants and everything in between, and then I started also doing the narration stuff, which was a lot of fun. I always enjoyed doing that. So
I guess that leads to the obvious question. So yeah, exactly.
What question?
Obviously we're going to ask questions that we already know the answer to, but they might people out there might not know. But how did you get the role of Barney?
Well, Barney was, like we were saying, it was one of many auditions, and we did, I've heard after the fact that I think Dennis DeShazer went and talked to Nancy Johnson or Nancy Campbell or both of them and said, do you have somebody? Here's the character. Here's what he's like. He's kind of lovable. He's a big dinosaur. Who would that be? But the thing is, they were looking for somebody to work like Big Bird, like Harold Spinney, which was a puppeteer in the costume and doing the voice at the same time.
Right.
And so I had done a little bit of character work. I had done this character called the Blaster for Humana Hospital Medical City, Dallas, which was these 3 superhero characters. And we went around to grade schools and we talked about health and safety and stuff. And so that was great. That was a robot character.
So cool. So
they thought, why not? We got this guy, right? And so they sent me, and it turned out that we did the auditions, and I think during the callback, they said, we really like your voice, but you're too tall for the costume. They'd already started building the costume, which is not really the way it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be done the other way around. They're supposed to cast and then build it around you. But so I was too tall. And so they said, we like this other guy for the body, so we're just going to split it up. Wow. And so they did, and we ended up doing this thing that we ended up calling Dino Sync, which is, the guy in the costume moving the jaw and me talking. We did that with all the dinosaurs.
It's pretty amazing because that was really ahead of its time, right?
Yeah. Or it's not really supposed to be done that way,
Right.
but it just happened to work. I mean, I don't think anybody else has ever done it that way, because unless you have performers who are really good at syncing up with each other, it's tough to do. Plus, when you've got a character, a costume that has the jaw and it's not like super articulate, like a puppet character is, you can do all these different positions with the mouth and, that sort of thing, and lots of expression. With Barney, it's basically just up and down. So that makes it a lot easier to sync.
Right.
And, but except for the guy in the costume, he's got all the hard work to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did Barney in the Backyard Gang transition to becoming the most iconic children's TV series of all time, Barney and Friends?
Well, it was kind of a crazy thing. I mean, our folks at Lions, the Lions Group, had been trying to get the tapes out, the series of home videos, Barney in the Backyard Gang, trying to get them out to what are called rack jobbers, to put them in like the Blockbuster stores and that sort of thing. And so they were getting out, and it was going okay. And then they started to send them out for free to like daycare centers, and that's where kids started really watching them and asking for them. And then the stores started putting them in more, which led to it being on a rack in a store in Connecticut, where Larry Rifkin, who was I'm trying to remember his title at the time. I think he was vice president in charge of programming for Connecticut Public Television. Sorry if I got your title wrong, Larry, but his daughter, they were looking. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and they were looking for some tape that she could watch while everybody else was watching the Super Bowl. And she just wandered up to this thing and saw this tape and grabbed it and said she wanted it, took it home. She watched it, and he said he'd never seen anything like it with her. She just so reacted to it, totally got into it. She completely participated, really loved it. And so he started doing some research and figured out, and contacted the Barney people and developed it and took it to PBS, and then it went from there. Although we actually got canceled after the first season. I don't know if you guys know that, but no, we got canceled.
Wow.
And there was a huge backlash from parents who said, "I can't take my shower now. You've got to put this on." And so they said more than that, but yeah, there was, and the stations got back to PBS and said, "Look, this is really popular with our viewers, so we'd like to keep it." And there was a big, big board meeting or something, and so they brought it back and kept going after that.
What was the lapse in time from when you guys left and then came back? Was it like a year, or was
well,
it?
there wasn't really a lapse, because it was like cancellation, reaction, and retraction. It was just like, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't take that long.
So it wasn't like Family Guy, where it was off the air for like 2 years, and then everybody had a riot or something, and then they came back.
Yeah, no, we there was no delay in production that I remember. So
once they transferred over to Barney and Friends, if they had asked you, "Hey Bob, we're going to remake the costume, we want you to wear it, and we want you to do the thing," would you have done it?
No. Yeah, I mean, it was like, boy, once you have the nice and cool job, the unsweaty job, you're just
like sitting back.
Thank you.
Speaking of,
they had a tough, people in the costumes had a tough, they really, that was the physicality of it. Was amazing.
And there's many iconic, performers that do that for a living. So I totally commend them all.
No.
But what was it like to be Barney, sort of voicing the road shows and all the live events? You got to travel and do all this. What was that lifestyle like?
Well, I was not. We pre-recorded all of my stuff for the arena shows. All of my stuff was pre-recorded, even the dialogue. But we had most of the time, I think, or all of the time, we would have somebody there who could jump in and do the voice if needed. But I think it was only needed once for like a couple of seconds when a tape didn't get cued properly or something. And so the rest of the time, but people like Barry Pearl, who was Professor Tinkerput, he went out on the road, and he and Carrie Stinson, who was the body of Barney for 22 years, they were on the road together for a long time, and they did, it was the Imagination Island kind of stuff, and Barney's Magical Musical Castle, and all of those shows, and so they had the life on the road, and although we did the New York show, the Radio City Music Hall show, which was phenomenal. What an experience that was.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think is it true that you were on TV too? I mean, numerous times, Barney, whenever he appeared on TV, you were the one doing the voice.
On live. Yeah. Like on the Today Show and stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So before we came on, I was talking to Nery about this. There was a Charles Barkley episode of Saturday Night Live. Was that you? Did you do the voice in that segment, or
no?
I didn't think so. I was like, "There's no way that they
never bothered to try to get a hold of the real thing. They just had their own, Yeah,
they were like, "Hey, Will Ferrell, come do this."
Yeah. That was pretty funny. But
I remember when we were on the road, we were talking. I remember you talking to somebody about that you had gone to like the official Barney birthday parties.
Oh yeah, they did. Really early on, they did some Barney birthday parties. That was part of the thing, and I didn't do them. They had somebody in the costume go out and just like the usual walk around character that doesn't talk. And but it was, it was a very official thing back when I believe when they were doing the Backyard Gang stuff, and then I don't remember when they stopped doing birthday parties. It might have been when we started doing.
But you weren't actually at them, though, right?
No.
So
Not
you were
birthday
like
parties.
bushes with like a microphone and
no. Although we did personal appearances where we did meet and greets where I would I'd be able to talk. Sometimes I was like off in a little tiny room, and they might have a really crummy old VHS camera pointed at the stage, and I'd see a little tiny image. And usually we had a better setup, but we had one time, I was at a trade show, and I saw a guy with a robot, this little robot. I actually saw the robot first, and it took me forever to find the guy who was operating it. I mean, he was like totally hidden in the crowd of people that was clumped around this robot.
That's so cool.
And it turned out that he was just standing like this, and he had his other hand was in a shoulder bag, which is where the RC controller was. And taped in the palm of his hand was a little lavalier microphone. And he was just doing this, and he was talking into the mic, and the speakers in the robot were loud enough to where you couldn't hear him. And I grabbed that idea, and we adopted it for Barney. And so I was able to sometimes on our appearances just actually wander around through the crowd and be able to, so I could get close enough to Barney and the kids that he was talking to hear what they were saying and to answer questions. And the speakers were, around Barney, and it worked really well. We did that one time for, I believe it was for the premiere of Barney's Great Adventure, the feature film. And that was at Radio City Music Hall as well. And we had a red carpet, and Barney came up the red carpet. We had a press pen, and then we had a bunch of fans on this side of the carpet, and there were stanchions and ropes. And we had a guy with a boom mic, and I asked him to mic it so that I could hear, and I had some headphones on, and then I did this, and I was standing right in and around the crowd, and Barney just got out of, it wasn't a limousine, it was something. He came in from the street, and he walked up, and he just started stopping at every person on the, and just doing interviews, just like a real human.
So cool.
It was really cool. It was great.
Awesome.
Our tech people did a great job on that.
I'm getting some good ideas for Nery's birthday.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm a huge dinosaur nerd. So if Barney the Dinosaur is everywhere, I'm totally okay with that. In the 90s, Barney,
I love you too, buddy.
Aww.
see, if I form another heart, it'll look like a kidney bean.
Aww.
in the
or
90s,
kidney stone. I mean,
yeah, well, let's not talk about those. In the 90s, Barney the Dinosaur, the fandom is just remarkable. It's like it had not been seen prior. Thousands of people would go out and support this brand. Do you have any stories of people reaching out to you, things that you got in the mail? I know a ton of moms thanked you constantly for what you did for their children. So
yeah, it was really amazing and I still get stories from folks about their kids, or from folks who were little kids and they're now old enough to communicate with me without having to break the fantasy. And we got one of the most memorable letters that we got back when people actually wrote paper letters was from a mom. She said that her son was autistic and he was almost completely nonverbal. I can't remember how old he was. I think she said he was like 5. I'm not positive about that, but she said that once he started watching Barney, though, he started coming out of himself, and he started, every once in a while there would be some words, and he started talking more and more. And she attributed that directly to Barney. And I mean, that's amazing.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And she said that there was a time when she was in the kitchen doing something, and her son walked up to her and put his arms around her leg and said, "I love you, mommy."
Oh.
And he had never done that before. He had never said, "I love you." He had never just come up to her and expressed that kind of emotion. And I mean, and she said, Barney did that. And I mean,
wow.
I what an honor to be involved with something like that. It really is.
I'm going to take it one step further, Bob. I mean, you played such a big part of my childhood. I mean, we've talked about this numerous times. My entire family was raised on you. And I remember having the albums too, like, hearing the songs. And forgive me, that was a fly. But one of the things that
the albums.
Yeah, the albums. Something that people don't know, but you sang as Barney also, and you have multi-platinum and multi-gold albums.
That's it. That's the RIAA plaque right there.
It's incredible. What was it like when you found out that your voice went multi-platinum, multi-gold, what was that like?
It was totally surreal. I mean, it was really crazy. We heard that, sales were going really well. And then all of a sudden we heard this thing, it's gold. They went gold first, and then they went multi-platinum later after like a couple of, I think we had, Barney's first volume and second volume, Barney's favorites, or I think it was. And, because right behind me, I could turn around and look, couldn't I? What's that?
Just read it, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, we had a promotional thing. I think it was during the Grammys, but it was in New York, and it was at Roseland, and they presented these things. They presented these things to us, and that was crazy. That was really crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. It's funny because, like, I know when we're on the road, every once in a while you get somebody that comes up and they're like, "Oh man, I hated Barney so much." And it's funny though, because honestly, it's not, I think it's more of like that, little kids, they want to listen to things over and over and over again. So
right.
More that it was like this incessant thing. I mean, how do you feel about that when people say stuff like that?
Well, I've also had people, like, when social media started kicking up, and Facebook, and I started reconnecting with people on Facebook, and people like from college, I have several times there was some guy would contact me and say, "Hey, how you doing? I heard that you did Barney, and I really hated that character. I really hated that dinosaur." And then I had a kid,
mm-hmm.
and I saw the child interacting with the dinosaur and realized that Barney was their first friend, their first best friend even. And I got it.
Yeah.
And it's making my kid happy, and they're learning something, and, I got it. And they, that's the thing, is that a lot of people who kind of threw daggers at Barney were, they first of all, Barney was very different from anything that had ever been produced. So people just weren't used to that, something that was aimed at kids that young. And but, I think, the fact that Barney was watched by parents with their children more than any other show on television.
Right.
That metric right there tells you something. So
yeah,
I'm going to say
they weren't
something.
all in the shower.
Absolutely. And one thing I realized, and Bob, it's a testament to you and your work. And being on the road last year, there was one scenario where we were at a GalaxyCon show, and there was a little boy who was on the spectrum, and he walked up to you and he's asked you to sing the song. Now, I'm not asking you to sing the song, but I remember all the people that were standing around you, basically looking at you and trying to see what you would do. And there was one kid that was probably 5 feet away that said, "I hate Barney." And you broke out into that song, the "I Love You" song.
Yeah.
And the demeanor on that kid's face, it was a moment of regret that just swept across his face.
Yeah.
And everything changed. And the mood around that entire section when you did that, I mean, it inspired people.
Yeah.
And you did that with just your voice, and
Something
that's
about that song.
There's something about that song. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I think that, sorry, Nery, I think that that goes to like energy, Bob.
Absolutely.
You have such great energy, and it goes to like being a good person. And I'm not just saying,
I'm sorry, what?
You're an amazing person. So that exudes. So in that moment, I'm sure that kid was just like, wow, this is just,
Yeah.
Well,
I just love being able to, to share all that with, and connect with fans and stuff, because I'm a fan too of various people. But yeah, I mean, singing that, there was one time at one show, what was it? I think it might've been Raleigh, where there were about 5 cosplayers who just walked up to the table and just burst into the song and started serenading me with the song. It was, just stuff like that. It was awesome. It was really great. Really cool.
That being said, why did you retire from voicing the character? I mean, you're so iconic, and I don't think of anybody but you when I hear Barney now. So,
well, it just felt like, I had done it for nearly 12 years, and it just felt like it was time to move on. It was, I had other things I wanted to do, and as the producers had, and I had talked about, we were really kind of in a maintenance phase for the character, and we weren't really going to do anything really, new and stretch and break out of the established character. And we'd done a radio show, and we'd done, live shows, and so, I just thought I needed, new challenges, and so went from there.
Now you can still hear your voice as Barney in A Day in the Park with Barney at Universal Studios Florida. Now that was recorded in the mid 1990s. But you also have archival recordings that can be still heard on some of the hit entertainments, the Little Big Club, right? Live stage shows.
The live stage shows, I'm not positive. The live stage shows, maybe, yeah. The early PBS episodes and are not available to stream anymore, or to download. They're not available on Blu-ray or DVD, which a lot of people would like, but I don't know that that's ever going to happen. It would be nice.
I'm waiting for PBS to do one of those telethons where you can buy this DVD for X amount. Call now. That's what I'm waiting for. And you know what? They should, because I think there's a legion of fans out there that would love to raise their kids with the same things that they watched.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, Nery. I think we should look into that. We can get like Donny Osmond to do the commercial for us.
Absolutely, and have Mary Wilson do the other section. Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mattel is talking to people about doing a new Barney movie, so we have no idea what that's going to be or if it'll even be. But I think I'm always getting people saying to me that they would love to have the series come back, and that was going to
be our next question. And if Barney and Friends had a revival, would you come back as Barney?
I would consider it. I mean, I'm not the most current Barney, and so there would have to be. They'd have to talk to whoever's. It would be up to them as to who did it.
You
I would
originated the
consider
voice, though. You originated the voice. Everybody that watches you and hears you knows that you're Barney, Bob.
Well,
I mean, there's no way.
Stop! You're gonna make me blush.
Oh. It sucks though because when they revamp stuff though, they always change it and it's different.
Yeah.
It's never as good.
Yeah.
So they're not like buff Barney and he'll sound like Arnold or something.
I'm kind of expecting that with the movie.
Yeah.
They're talking about. I mean, I hope they don't did. Well, I hope they don't do with it like what they did with the Banana Splits, where the characters are all like slasher killers or something.
Oh
I would hope they wouldn't do that, but it's Mattel. I don't think they're going to do that. But
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
You reprised the voice of Barney 5 years later during a PBS Kids launch.
Yep.
What was that like returning to a character 5 years later?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun, just like riding a bicycle. I mean, when you do a character that long, it's, it's in there. It's permanently in your brain. And we did it. Carrie Stinson was the body for that and got to work with Carol Spinney. And that was awesome. Barney and there was this stage and they were doing it was the launch of PBS Kids Sprout, and Barney and Big Bird met on stage and had a big purple and yellow hug, and that was very cool.
We were in what was it, Tampa Bay, right? Didn't we get to hang out with them?
Yes, Tampa Bay and one more show. Carol
and
yeah,
he was amazing. Didn't we had Oppie with us too, right?
Yeah. It was great to see Carol. It really was.
We got to go to the yacht club.
Yeah.
Our friend Addie. Hopefully, she gets to watch it sometime. Hi, Addie.
Yeah. Hi, Addie. How you doing? I'm seeing people here that I haven't seen in a long time. Here's Jim Rowley, one of our amazing directors and producers, and
he just said, like I said, you're the one and only.
Getting on here. Cool.
He's so nice. He says we didn't want him to retire. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Now, did you know Carol Spinney prior to meeting him at a convention? I assume for PBS.
The PBS Kids Sprout launch was where I met him the first time and worked with him that day. I mean, we did a satellite tour. I don't know if you know what that is. Is where you get in the studio and they put what you're doing on satellite, and you actually do interviews with news stations around the country, and little live shots. And so Carol did he did Big Bird and he did Oscar, and I think he did another character, but just getting to work with him and just getting to know him, what an amazing person, just one of those great human beings that you love to hang around with, and
the same
wish we had done more.
For you, Bob.
Do you remember
I pay these guys well, people. Let me tell you.
Do you remember what Carol told me when we were eating lunch? I always tell everybody this.
What was that?
His wife. He leaned over to his wife and said something, and then she said, "Carol said you have a perfect nose." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "You know what?" And she's like, "No, trust me, that's a compliment." And I'm like, "No, I am. I mean, I'm honored. Carol said I have a perfect nose."
That's right. That's Deborah, his wife. And I mean, coming from somebody who's Big Bird, who has the perfect beak.
Any
it's a great compliment coming from Big Bird. Right. Exactly. Now, for many people that don't know, you actually have a side profession where you're actually a graphic designer for major studios.
Right. That's my parallel career for, I kind of shift back and forth the percentage of time that I would do each one. And, but I started that straight out of college. And, so I do what's called production graphics, and that can be anything that you see on a set, from billboards to magazines to wallpaper to stained glass to business cards to, just pretty much anything that you see.
To anything that's CelebWorx Bob West related.
Yeah. All kinds of Easter eggs all over the place, But yeah, I just finished a season of Single Parents, second season of Single Parents. Before that, did Speechless, which was an awesome show, amazing breakthrough show for depicting people's lives, who have disabilities in a realistic way. Of course, it was a little magical at times as well. But before that, I did The Muppets.
Singing before we got on.
Yeah, I know.
Singing the Muppet Show theme.
Yeah, that was awesome because I got to reconnect with a couple of Muppeteers there, Alice Deneen and Peter Linz, that I had met on Kids for Character Counts long time ago. And they were doing, I think they were doing Puzzle Place at the time. They had their puppets there and a couple of very cool people, very talented Muppeteers.
Didn't when we were, I'm trying to remember which con it was, but I remember that somebody walked up with a T-shirt and it was something where the logo was from a show that you were like, hey, I created that logo.
It was somebody walked by in from Community, the character who is the mascot of the school,
right,
is the human being, right? And it's this amorphous white outline thing and with a big G on the front. And I had designed this character, and here goes somebody walking by cosplaying the human being. And I had to get up and run over and say, I designed you.
Yeah, that's right. It was cosplay.
And that was those moments that only happen.
Moments, yeah.
Yeah, those moments that only happen at cons, Just
Absolutely.
amazing.
So I gotta ask, because when I was a kid, I went to Chuck E. Cheese a lot. And I love Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
And he still goes. Okay. He still goes to this day.
I ask, Nery to come with me because he looks like he's a child.
You order Pasqually's mysterious delivery pizza or
I still stand by that. That's the greatest pizza ever made. The pepperoni pizza at Chuck E. Cheese is still the best pizza ever made, and no one can convince me otherwise.
So for the people out there that don't know, you were Jasper and Pasqually, right?
Right.
From Chuck E. Cheese. So how did you get to be those two characters?
Well, I sounded like this, which is kind of scary.
That's Jasper.
Jasper, whom we call Mr. Haney Jr.
Mr. Haney from Green Acres.
Oh my God!
And Pasqually, he was an Italian tenor, and he sang opera all the time. And so he was the pizza chef and the drummer, and then Jasper played either banjo or guitar, depending on the setup of the animatronics. And that, again, that was, at the time they were doing, there was a merger and they were doing concept unification is what it was called for the two companies.
Yeah.
And so they decided to, refresh the show and get new voices. And I got those two guys. So, and kind of set up a model that's sort of been followed since then. So
do they send you like Chuck E. Cheese gift cards and you can
play
all you want?
No, not anymore. No, not anymore.
No.
Although I think I got a discount card at one point way back when. Yeah, no, it was that was a fun gig because when we started out, we took 3 days to record just the vocals.
Yeah.
It was, the shows, they put so much after the concept unification, they put so much budget and really concentrated so much quality effort in those shows. And we did Beatles songs and Beach Boys and those complex harmonies and everything, and we just and it was a great challenge, and also probably one of the musically speaking, it was definitely the best time of my life. So
yeah, you get paid to sing Beatles songs. Come on.
I'm so glad you said that, because I like writing music sometimes, and melodies and lyrics and stuff like that. And Chuck E. Cheese and Barney were actually the two that I loved, because for me, I always wanted to replicate something as iconic as those. And I would sit in the animatronic, section of Chuck E. Cheese and literally wait till the next round of animatronics playing would go on, and I just would watch and watch and watch, and probably doesn't speak much for me as a child, but
well, it's good to be fascinated. We have to have something that we love, and especially when it's creative, that's a plus.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's funny because when we do shows, like some of our clients, like they have, characters that I just assume that people don't even know that it's them, or, they're like, smaller characters that people might not care about. And so when we first went to a show together, I was like tripping out that people like Jasper, because I love Jasper. Jasper was my favorite when I went. I was like, man, I always loved the dogs. So I was like, man, Jasper's awesome. He's great. And people come up with like paintings of the character, and they want you to sign it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, did a painting of Jasper and Pasqually or whatever. It's like the cameo shout outs that I do. I have some people who regularly send me requests to talk to Jasper and Pasqually. They just want to say hey, how you doing? And it's great. It's awesome.
It's a perfect time to plug your cameo. I think that people, where can they find you on your cameo?
Yeah, it's cameo.com/yes thatbobwest. So cameo.com/yes thatbobwest. Yes, that Bob West is where I am on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter as well. So yes, that Bob West.
And speaking of conventions,
yes, I was going to ask that.
Yes, that question.
Yeah. So speaking of conventions, how do you like going to conventions? I mean, is that something that you enjoy doing, or?
Yes, I do. You were there. Yeah.
Well, you need to tell the people out there, right?
Yeah. Let me tell you. The rhetorical question. Yeah. Doing the cons is just an amazing experience, because you get to meet so many people that, especially for a character like Barney. When the fans were little and they watched Barney, you couldn't talk to them about Barney because, you can't break that fourth wall.
Of course.
Pop the bubble. So when, I've got people in their mid-20s coming up to me and talking to me about the character. And again, all these amazing stories, like one young woman came up to me and said that she and her family were refugees from Vietnam. And she said that they all learned English from watching Barney.
Wow.
Whoa.
And then and she just, and she was just really effusive about what Barney had done for her and her family. And
that's so amazing.
Yeah. And another person came up and said, Barney saved my life. She said, when I was very small, I had heart and lung issues. Mm-hmm. And I was in and out of the hospital all the time. And she said she just held on to her Barney doll and he kept her calm and helped her get through all the treatments and really stay focused on getting better. And she just attributed her staying alive to Barney. I mean, what can you say when people say things like that without breaking down in tears?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's just amazing. And then of course there's the Cuban food,
Yeah.
I still think Havana, what was it? Havana 1977. I still think that was just as good as Versailles, though.
Yeah. It was the beans. The beans were better than Versailles.
That's agree.
What it was.
Unfortunately, I don't know what you're talking about because I wasn't included on this
I'll tell you, we were in Miami for
and I got the yacht club, so
yeah. Well, I'll take Miami, the boardwalks of Miami any day, sir.
Yeah,
any day.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. The food, we ate ourselves silly.
And that
totally silly.
I go back whenever I think of my job and people ask me, how good is your job? I go back to that moment of Samantha Kelly, Kenny James, George Newbern, Terry McGovern, yourself. Am I missing anybody, Bob?
George Newbern.
I said it.
You did. Okay.
So I imagine that moment of us all sitting there
and
having
Steve,
the wind blow with the humidity and eating, at Havana 1977.
Yeah, Steve was with us there too.
Steve Palmer was there too. Yes. I knew I was forgetting somebody.
There's video proof on my Facebook page.
And please don't share it because that's before that. I don't want anybody to ever see it.
It's out there, buddy. I'm sorry, but it's yes.
Well, as long as I'm not in the video, I don't care.
And you're in the video, but we're all doing this.
Nery, wasn't Susan Eisenberg there too?
No, she wasn't. Well, she didn't go to dinner with us. I think she.
Oh, okay. I was like, I know she was on that trip.
She was on
Yeah.
that trip, and Brett Iwan was on that trip, but he wasn't there with us. I think he went to dinner with us the next night. We had Italian. Regardless, moving on
Yeah.
from our wonderful food adventures
Yes.
at Comic-Cons, for listeners that are out there, you were talking about what this means, the job, and sort of the impact that it has on people. And a lot of people would look to words of advice from you, someone that they admire, to wanting to break into the industry, or words of encouragement. Is there anything that you can provide the listeners?
Well, the classic line is, and it's totally meaningful, is if you want to be a voice actor, you have to first be an actor. You have to first be an actor. That's what it's about. It's not about doing funny voices. It's not about, being a character, coming up with a funny voice, or being able to imitate, especially a funny voice, any character voice. It's about being an actor and being able to communicate. The thing is that, the cartoon voice jobs, it's the number of people who actually do that alone for a living is like almost none.
Yeah.
It's practically speaking, it's almost none. So if you want to be a voice actor and you want to do that for a living, you really have to be able to do commercials, narration. You have to be able to, think about doing live emceeing, think about, all the things that a voice actor can do. And a lot of my income when before I got Barney, was doing narrations, really complex, electronics or chemistry or, all kinds of things. And did a lot of that back when we were doing laser discs. That's how long ago. Laser discs and but all kinds of sales videos and instructional things. And
well, even after Barney, you did tons of commercials for like KFC and Pepsi and so there's other jobs out there than just doing characters.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you have to kind of find your what's called your signature sound, which would be the voice that you're best known for. And mine was kind of a just kind of a friendly guy next door voice, and it got me a lot of healthcare stuff,
which is
and banks.
Was it Kaiser Permanente, right? Were you?
Yeah, I did Kaiser Permanente, and I did the several banks. You can't do them all at the same time because it's a conflict. But and then it's just if you have a sound where it's something that's warm and approachable and believable, and then you'll get a certain kind of client, or a certain kind of advertiser. If you've got a sound that's really odd and crunchy, and you've got gravel in your voice, you'll get a different kind of advertiser.
Probably,
so
right. Chris always says my signature sound is muffled. So
yes.
I knew you were going to go there.
Absolutely,
I knew it. I saw it.
Well, you sound pretty good right now. So
well, I sound fine. Yeah. Now, Bob, I hope you don't mind. We're going to, before we move on to our next segment, we're going to take some of the fan questions.
Please. I see all this scrolling going on. I feel I'm neglecting people.
Like, this is a lot of questions, man. I've already kind of seen most of them, and I'm saying, holy cow, this is more than I've ever seen.
So Devon Miller said, what were the other dinos doing interviews too?
Oh, that was for that red carpet.
Oh, were the other dinos doing interviews too?
I think it was just Barney who did that. Yeah. But I just want to give a couple of shout outs here to Joey, Devon, and Timothy, Mark and Sean. I mean, there's just all these guys. Amy, there's Jim Riley, of course.
Yeah, Jim said, "Hey, Bob West, Trent. Jim Riley here, Barney director, sounding great."
Oh, thanks.
Amy, hi, Bob. Hope you're doing well.
Amy.
Yeah, all these great people.
Mark
all these
says,
great people are on my Facebook page all the time who are really great fans. Jeremy, hey.
And Mark says, thank you for helping create my favorite childhood show.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being a Barney fan of the BPG, the big purple guy. Hey, Kelby.
There's one that you need to bring up for me.
Can you confirm for all concerned adults that you have more than one magenta shirt?
Yes, I have 4 of these, one for each day of a 4-day con. So I don't have to do laundry every night.
Jerry, can you bring up the one from Bobette?
Hold on, I'm going down the list. Amy says, How much input, if any, did you have scripting for Barney?
Not really in the scripting. Although when we had, although Barney would, over time, Barney developed Barney Isms, little things that he would say, and some of those were my ad libs, and they would stick. And so we, the writers would include those because we got used to hearing those. But and like any show, and there's definitely going to be ad libs. And of course, when you're working with kids, sometimes with adults as well, but with kids especially, sometimes they'll drop a line, and so you have to get in there and ad lib, especially when you've got a song that's queuing up. And my old friend Ron Ballantyne can tell you this. He was the guy who would queue up the songs, and every once in a while he would cue the song, and when the intro would start, and then a child would drop a line, and so I'd have to change the, or I would have to, change what I said or something, and then finish, and just in time to take a breath, and then the vocal would start. The Barney vocal would start. So yeah, it was fun. I love doing that stuff. Especially, it was like doing live theater sometimes. Yeah.
Jim Rowley says we didn't want him to retire. Which,
thanks, Jim. Well, water under the bridge. I look back and I go, sometimes I go, I shouldn't have done that, but it was inevitable. I had to move on anyway. So,
Sean,
but I appreciate your never ending support. Jim Rowley's great.
If they will do a Barney film the way that Christopher Robin and Dora and the Lost City of Gold went, that would be better.
How would that? I didn't see that. How'd they do that?
They did it.
Oh, that was the live. Was that the live action?
Yeah, but they also had like the character looked almost real, but still cartoony.
Yeah,
it was like computer animated. So
that one. Yeah, not the recent Dora.
Kelby Klein says Grandma says she loves Barney.
Okay. Hey, Kelby. I love Barney too.
Timothy
I love you back.
Aww.
Timothy Dacus says in 2005, the PBS Kid Sprout launch party. I love seeing two of my big favorite animal friends from PBS at the same time, Barney and Big Bird.
Yeah. Oh, and he's got his picture there. To see his profile picture.
Carol.
That's Tim and Carol. And is that Steve? I think that's
I think it's Deb.
I think
is it Deb or
Steve?
It's Deb. It's Deb.
It's Deb. I don't think Steve there.
No, Steve. Oh my God, Kermit.
Yeah, Kermit the Frog. Steve Whitmire.
Yes,
yeah.
Steve Whitmire. I think he took a picture with Steve and.
Carol.
Okay. He and his agent are really good friends with our company, Steve Whitmire and Tim Bendig from In Person Productions. So hopefully we can have them both on one day.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
He's a tremendous guy too.
Yeah. Jeremy Crispo says, "Remember when Tina from Barney was in the Problem Child? Was in Problem Child?"
Oh,
do you know what that means, Bob? I don't even know what that means.
Problem Child was a movie. I think she was in that when not long after. It was kind of like right around the time of Barney.
Wasn't that John Ritter?
Just after.
John Ritter was in that, right?
Yeah.
Well, you had some famous people now that appeared on Barney and Friends. People like, I think Selena Gomez was on, or was it Selena Gomez was one of the children on Barney and Friends. Yeah. I mean, was there some others, Bob, that you can think of?
It was Selena, and it was who else was there? There was Ariana Grande, I think.
Wow.
Oh,
and
wow.
And
we might need you to make some phone calls for us.
I didn't work with them though. They actually came on. Well, they came on about a year after. I think about a year after I left the show. So everybody I have people walking up. I have people coming up to the table and going, "So what was it like working with Selena Gomez?" And I'm sorry, I didn't really work with her because she came after I left. And they'd go, "Oh," and then they just walk away because they were Selena fans.
And then.
So disappointed.
Roland Alejandro says
Demi Lovato.
That's Demi Lovato did it. Yes,
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. It was Demi Lovato. I don't know why I say Ariana.
Roland Alejandro says they should do another season of Barney, but you should be in it. I'm 30 and still like Barney. Every morning I see it with my kids to watch Barney.
Oh, that's great.
That's cool.
Well, thanks for keeping up the tradition. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. That's something great that to know that people are keeping that tradition up. It's really awesome.
Mark Aaron says you should have been on the Netflix documentary. I know that voice. Hey,
Oh,
that's an idea for us, Bob. We got to start our own Netflix documentary where we
Yeah.
spotlight voiceover actors.
there you go.
Chris,
Yeah.
let's get on it. Let's get on it. Pitch meeting as soon as Hollywood opens.
Yep.
You're welcome, Joey. Nice to see you here. Always nice to see you.
I'm
Joey.
looking. Did I miss any other questions that you had seen? Mark Aaron says, did you ever try the suit on just for fun?
There was a time when I can't remember who it was, but the person who was the body performer could not make it in time to get to a TV studio where we were doing a little tease for, it was like a local PBS studio, and they needed to shoot it, and so they ended up doing I ended up getting in the costume for like a total of about 20 minutes and just kind of popping out from behind something and waving. And that was it. That was the whole thing. So 20 minutes, that's the entire length of time I spent inside the costume. And I'm always very appreciative of the bodies.
Daniel says, what are some of the biggest memories from Radio City Music Hall?
Oh, wow. Just amazing. I mean, the whole experience was incredible. Just actually the process itself, and we were on what's called the shop level, which is like 2 or 3 levels down from the stage. And Radio City Music Hall, the stage itself is entirely made up of elevators. Every piece of it is on a giant hydraulic lift and can go up and down. And so we're down underneath in this big cavernous space with these giant hydraulic tubes that, it's like a forest. And we had the 3 of us in our little booths, and we had our television monitors with different cameras where we could see what was going on. And when we started up, we started adjusting. I guess we had a preview night, and I asked the sound mixer to crank up the audio from the studio, the audience mic, because I was having trouble hearing them. And he turned it up a little bit. I said, no, it needs some more. And I just had him, I said, crank it, because I need to feel like I'm physically out there on the stage. And so he really cranked it up. And then that's when we hit it. That's when all 3 Dino voices really had him crank it up. And it was like, you walk out there, Barney makes his appearance, his magical appearance, the curtains part, he comes out, and it's just this cheer that just washes over you. The audience for Radio City Music Hall was one of those perfect audiences. 12, I think, sold out performances, and they didn't matter what happened, totally with you, completely involved, singing along with everything, the kids and the parents. It was just that magic, But I think there were some flubs, or mine. I flubbed one time. I forgot to introduce Hope, who played Tasha. There was a list of kids, and I named all the kids, and they came out, and I forgot to introduce her.
Oh, no.
And she got stuck backstage, and we went into another number, and she stuck backstage. We had to figure out a way to get her out there, and so funny. It was terrible. I bet you felt really bad, but you know what? I know you didn't mean it intentionally. I did feel bad.
Sean Horace says, what was your favorite Barney home video or concert?
Well, Radio City was definitely my favorite concert. Home videos. I really couldn't say which of the home videos is my favorite. I think the later ones, as we kind of found our feet, were more fun to do. And Waiting for Santa was really great. That was a lot of fun because we had some fun tricks and things, and Barney got to play Santa, which is awesome. Got stuck in a chimney. That was great.
Now, Duncan Brennan says, hey, Bob.
Hey, Duncan.
I know when you were traveling that you had some crazy interviews sometimes, hosts asking crazy questions, unexpected things happening, etc. Any interesting stories to tell interview-wise?
Well, Duncan Brannon is one of the guys who took over after I left the show. Hi, Duncan. Great to see you. Great to hear from you. And yeah, some crazy interviews sometimes. We had, we did probably 5. I think we were probably on the Today Show like 5 times. We did, everything from Oprah to Donahue to, Lisa. And, I mean, it was like so many of those shows. But probably the craziest interview was one that was part of the launch or the promo for the movie. And we were at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And we had a little press gathering there, and I did the microphone thing, and we had all these guys in the press asking Barney questions. And we had one reporter who insisted on trying to ambush Barney and trying to get him to say something. And it was just constantly, he was just constantly trying to twist things and saying, get me to be mad, get Barney. And he just kept going and going and going. And Barney would just laugh, and he would deflect, and he would do this, and he would say, well, I don't know, Barney and Friends is watched by more parents than, and with their children than any other show. And he says, and at the end, he finally got mad. He said, I'm just trying to get you to say a crossword. And Barney says, crossword? I love those puzzles. So that was the kind of, Barney was kind of tough. Man. Barney was kind of Teflon, he couldn't get his goat. Happy dinosaur.
Mark says, did you voice a creepy bear in the campfire video? Is that true?
I think I did. Yeah, I don't know if it was creepy. I think it was sleepy more than creepy. He was the hibernating bear who came out with his lantern. And
Nery, you need to bring the Melendi one back up.
Okay, I will. Bob, question, was there a time where you could not do Barney because you got sick?
Yes, there was. I actually got laryngitis, pharyngitis, and tracheitis. A virus that hit me really, really hard. Totally lost my voice. Completely gone. And it was gone for 3 months.
Wow.
3 months it was gone. And it was kind of scary. But the docs kept saying, it's one of those things that it just takes time to get to go away. If you happen to have one that's hanging around for a long time, but it's going to go away. And I had to just trust. And fortunately, it happened right in the season, but it happened early enough in the season to where I could step away, and they brought somebody else in to voice, to attempt voice with, live when they shot the kids and everybody else and Barney. And then I came in after I got better, and I looped everything. So,
oh, wow.
So yeah, that was crazy. And, that's the voice actor's biggest nightmare, is getting sick and not being able to work, not being able to make a gig.
Or not talking again. That's one of some of my clients, when they get sick, they go, what if I never comes back? It always does, but.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, when I got to the point where this is back when the software available wasn't very, very good in terms of certain things. And I actually had to hack together my own little talking program. And so I would have phone calls, and I would type, and the computer would speak for me. And I would do, call in and say, hi guys, just want to let you know I'm still sick. Hello guys, I am still sick.
That's funny.
So yeah, it's scary.
I have to thank one client that just commented, and I brought her a comment earlier, and she's the reason Bob West is actually a client of ours, and we love her dearly. Melendi Britt, the voice of She-Ra, knew Barney, and that's why he is one of the members of the CelebWorx family. So much love and thanks to Melendi.
Yes, thank you, Melendi. Melendi's awesome. She-Ra's awesome. She-Ra rules.
And she says you're darn smart too.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
She's very flattering.
Now, Daniel Bessel says thoughts of working with Barry Pearl. Did you work with Barry Pearl?
Yeah. Barry was Professor Tinkerbutt. He was the guy who was on the road with the shows.
Oh, wow.
And he was Duty in Grease.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yep.
So he's an amazing actor, an amazing comic actor, just one of the great stalwart performers of all time. I mean, he just never stops. He's always going. But what a great guy, and what a great guy to work with. Constantly laughing. We just constantly had an amazing time when we were working with him.
I actually know Barry pretty well. He's one of our people that we hang out with from time to time. He's a good dude.
Yeah,
really good guy.
Good guy.
I'm looking. I'm sorry. Forgive me as I scroll down to find these comments. Okay. I think that. I'm trying to see. And I'm going to end it off on this. Melendi says, "Oh, I love you."
Oh, I love you too.
Now,
Love you.
Can you bring up the Bobette Moore one?
see, I don't see a Bobette Moore. Like, how far back?
It's pretty far back.
Yeah, it's off the top of my screen, I think.
It says hi, Chris. But anyways, she said hi. That is my nephew's mom, Bobette. So
And I'm so sorry.
Oh, I see.
Unfortunately, it's cropped what I can see. It won't let me. It only.
Whatever. You just don't like my family. It's fine.
Okay, I can't reach it. And
Kevin's gonna get angry at you now.
I'm sorry. And then speaking of
Gotta keep
Melendi
family
saying, love you, I am going to end this show off with the right way. And every show, Bob, we try to do something special. And I don't think there's a better song to end the show and the current climate that we're in. Can you sing the song for us?
I think I probably know what song you mean.
I think you do.
And it's it's a song that people constantly ask for, and they ask for, when I do a cameo shout out or something, they ask for it to bring up somebody's spirits and to cheer somebody up and just to let them know that they love them. And it goes like this. I think you probably know how this goes, and it goes, I love you, you love me, we're best friends like friends should be, with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? Boy, oh boy, this was stupendous, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Yay!
Wow.
Wow, Bob. Bob, can you tell people where to find you, things to follow, plug anything?
Yes, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on cameo.com. You can get me at yes, that Bob West, and Cameo for shout outs. And my Facebook page is my headquarters, and I hope to see you there.
We've approached the end of our show. Chris wants to tell you a few things.
Yes, I do. Our next show will be planned for next Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we want to announce our special guest for next week's program. It will be none other than Mr. Mike Millerick of Stockton Con Events. He is super, super cool guy. Very interesting, a lot of fun, and I'm sure Nery and I are going to really, really have a good time with this one. And then just to also remind you, we also have our G.I. Joe show, which is on Thursdays, also at 5 p.m. Pacific. And this upcoming Thursday, we are going to have none other than Mr. Michael Bell, on Duke on G.I. Joe, and it's a makeup show from one that we had some technical difficulties with. So once again, this is Chris Arsaga, and you can follow me at The Real Arsaga on Instagram. And in the words of Professor X from Days of Future Past, just because someone stumbles and loses their path doesn't mean they're lost forever.
And this has been Nery Lemus. You can follow me at The Real Nery Lemus on Instagram. Just leaving you with a small reminder, keep your feet on the ground, always reach for the stars, and never forget to stay inspired. Bob, can you say something as Barney?
Yes, indeed. And remember, I love you. Bye. So long.
It's
Night,
been great,
everyone.
guys.
Bye,
I miss
guys.
you.
Have a good night.